Partnership agreements between sales associates, collaboration with clarity. As we move into the final section of this course, we now bring everything together by focusing on how agents work together within a brokerage and how those relationships must be structured to avoid conflict and liability. Partnerships between sales associates are common, but without clear agreements, they often become a source of disputes. Partnership agreements should clearly define roles, responsibilities, commission splits, client ownership, and dispute resolution procedures. Under AAC R428-1103, the broker must supervise and approve these arrangements to ensure compliance and consistency. Example, two agents agree to work together on listings and buyers, but do not define how commissions will be split. When a transaction closes, a dispute arises. Without a written agreement, the broker must step in and resolve the issue. In 2026, best practice is to require all partnership agreements to be in writing and approved by the broker before any joint activity begins. Personal safety, protecting the licensee and the client. Personal safety is a critical but often overlooked component of broker policy. Real estate professionals frequently meet strangers, enter vacant properties, and work in unpredictable environments. Brokers should establish safety protocols, including verifying client identity before showings, using office check-in systems, avoiding isolated showings without notification, training agents on situational awareness. An agent meets a new client at a vacant property without verifying identity. The situation becomes unsafe. Proper safety protocols could have prevented the risk. In 2026, safety is part of professionalism and risk management, not just personal responsibility. Pre-possession and post-possession, managing risk before and after closing. Allowing buyers or sellers to occupy a property before or after closing introduces significant legal and liability risks. These situations must be handled carefully and documented properly. Under AAC R428-1101, agents must exercise reasonable care and recommend appropriate professional guidance when necessary. Pre- and post-possession agreements should clearly outline terms, responsibilities, insurance coverage, and liability. Example, a buyer moves into a property before closing and causes damage. Without a written agreement, disputes arise over responsibility and repair costs. In 2026, brokers should require formal agreements and strongly encourage the involvement of legal counsel when these situations arise. Request for information or documents by subpoena or government officials, responding properly. At times, brokers may receive requests for documents or information through subpoenas or from government agencies. These situations must be handled carefully to ensure compliance while protecting client confidentiality. Under ARS Section 32-2151.01, brokers are required to maintain and provide records when legally requested. However, improper disclosure without legal review can create additional liability. Example, a broker receives a subpoena for transaction records and immediately releases all documents without consulting legal counsel. This may result in unintended disclosure of confidential information. Best practice is to consult with legal counsel before responding to any subpoena or official request. Sales associate expenses. Clarity prevents conflict. Expenses incurred by sales associates, such as marketing, licensing fees, and transaction costs, must be clearly defined within the independent contractor agreement and brokerage policies. This includes who pays for marketing materials, responsibility for MLS and association fees, reimbursement policies, transaction-related expenses. Example, an agent assumes the brokerage will cover advertising costs, while the broker assumes the agent is responsible. Without clear policies, disputes arise. In 2026, transparency in expense policies is essential to maintaining positive relationships and avoiding misunderstandings. Short sales. Complexity requires oversight. Short sales involve additional layers of complexity, including lender approval, timelines, and potential financial implications for the seller. Agents handling short sales must clearly communicate with all parties, disclose the nature of the transaction, avoid providing legal or tax advice beyond their expertise, recommend professional consultation when needed. Example, a seller completes a short sale without understanding potential tax consequences. The agent should have recommended consultation with a tax professional. Short sales require heightened supervision due to their complexity and risk. Signs, advertising compliance in physical form. Signage is a traditional but still highly regulated form of advertising. Under AAC R428502, all signage must be truthful and include required brokerage identification. Additionally, placement of signs must comply with local ordinances and HOA rules. Example, An agent places a sign on a property without proper authorization or fails to include the brokerage name. This may result in fines or disciplinary action. Even simple signage must meet compliance standards. Smoking, property condition and disclosure considerations. Smoking within a property can impact condition, odor, and air quality. While not always required to be disclosed, it may become a material fact depending on the circumstances. Example, a property has significant smoke odor and damage from long-term smoking. Failure to disclose this condition may lead to disputes if the buyer discovers it after closing. Brokers should encourage agents to address any property conditions that may impact value or desirability. Submission of documents, timeliness, and compliance. Timely submission of documents is one of the most important and most enforceable brokerage policies. Under AAC R428-1103, brokers must review and manage transactions, which requires prompt access to documentation. Example, an agent delays submitting a signed contract to the broker. If an issue arises, the broker may not be able to properly supervise or respond, creating compliance risk. Many brokerages, including in 2026, enforce strict timelines such as 72-hour submission requirements to ensure compliance and oversight. Section review, bringing it all together. This final section ties together the operational, interpersonal, and compliance aspects of brokerage management. It reinforces that every detail, whether partnerships, safety, documentation, or communication, plays a role in the overall success and compliance of the brokerage. We now see the full picture of this course. Supervision ensures control. Policies create consistency. Disclosure protects all parties. Financial systems ensure accountability. Professional conduct builds trust. Operational systems reduce risk. A successful broker does not rely on chance. They rely on structure, systems, and proactive management. Why are written partnership agreements important between sales associates? Answer, because they clearly define roles, responsibilities, and commission splits, preventing disputes and confusion. What is the biggest risk with pre-possession agreements? Answer, liability for damage or disputes if responsibilities are not clearly defined in writing. Why is timely document submission critical for brokers? Answer, because it allows brokers to properly supervise transactions and ensure compliance with ADRE rules.